This afternoon, NBC Sports and TBS present the best in college basketball on the Big Ten Game of the Week. Featuring the Boilermakers of Purdue versus the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Brought to you by 1980 Marquis, Cougar XR7, and Capri, all from Lincoln Mercury. By Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, St. Louis, brewers of Michelob beer. Weekends were made for Michelob. By Allstate Insurance Companies, you're in good hands with Allstate. And by Gillette Track 2. To guys who use the twin blade Gillette Track 2, no other blade will do.
16,000 fans have jammed Williams Arena on the campus of the University of Minnesota to watch today's battle between the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Purdue Boilermakers. It's the battle for second place of the Big Ten. Hi, I'm Merle Harmon. I'll call the play-by-play to analyze the action. Coach Fred Taylor. Well, Fred, the winning margin is shrinking in the Big Ten. The teams aren't running away from anybody score-wise.
Well, I think it's probably a little bit early to make a definite statement on that, but you would expect Ohio State, being 5-0, to have a point differential of about what it is. You know, the important thing is what you score and what you give up, but the other ones are very close, and I think when we talk about being early, one game can make too much difference right now.
Oh, and how? And we're at that stage of the season when today is a big game for each of these ball clubs. And as we look at some of the outstanding talent on the team, we'll start with the visitors and Joe Barry Carroll.
Well, number 22 is just about all everything. You know, we've seen him at times dive on the floor after the basketball, and that's important. He's the leading scorer in the Big Ten. He was the defending scoring champion. He does everything.
Of course, Arnett Holman, his running mate's going to have a real job on his hands today. He's a little bit injured, bad leg, but he's going to play. And guess who he draws?
Well, he's got to draw number 44, Kevin McHale, and it's going to be a real matchup. He gives up 4 inches. Now, Kevin McHale played on the Pan American team last year. He's the leading rebounder in the Big Ten, averaging 10 a game, and kind of unorthodox, but one heck of a player.
One of these teams has got to take on Ohio State this afternoon. In other words, one's got to win to put the pressure on the Buckeyes. We'll be back with the lineups.
Weekends were made for Michelob. Weekends were made for special friends. It's the time to have that smooth and mellow beer. It's Michelob. Weekends were made for special times. Weekends were made for Michelob.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to meet a guy who's really in deep water? He's on top of what's going to be the largest Texaco offshore rig ever. It's off the coast of Scotland, and it costs around $500 million. When it's fully operational, it'll be able to deliver almost 4 million gallons of oil a day. Will that help America? It sure will. Because in the North Sea or here at home, finding oil anywhere reduces dependence everywhere. Texaco, we're working to keep your trust.
When a man wears Old Spice, chances are he'll always get a warm reception. No wonder. The clean, fresh, masculine fragrance of Old Spice is a scent that women know and love. So when you're wearing Old Spice, the invitation is clear. It can really spice up your life.
Put a little spice in your life with Old Spice.
Our new house is costing plenty, so Ted's painting it himself to save money.
Watch it.
Oh, well, we gotta save every way we can.
You can save 15% on Allstate homeowners insurance.
15%?
It's Allstate's biggest new house discount ever.
Your house is brand new, so you'll save 15% the very first year.
Boy, that'll buy a lot of paint.
Maybe some paint remover, too.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
And that's a promise from us, the good hands people.
Well, we're getting ready to go here at Williams Arena in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis-St. Paul. Purdue's Boilermakers, winners of 11 overall, losers of 3 in the Big Ten, 4-1. A game behind the Ohio State Buckeyes, who are undefeated at 5-0. And Minnesota's Golden Gophers are 10-4 for the year. They're 3-2 in conference play. And, of course, they lost an OT game in Columbus last Thursday night against the Ohio State Buckeyes. And now the lineups for today's game. For the Purdue Boilermakers at guard, number 20, a 6'2 junior from Lebanon, Indiana, Brian Walker. For Minnesota at guard, number 24, a 6'2 sophomore from Springfield, Massachusetts, Mark Hall. For Purdue at guard, number 11, a 6'5 sophomore from San Antonio, Texas, Keith Edmonson. For Minnesota at guard, number 32, a 6'5 sophomore from Flint, Michigan, Trent Tucker. At center for Purdue, number 22, a 7'1 senior from Denver, Colorado, Joe Barry Carroll. For Minnesota at center, number 40, 6'10 sophomore from Miami, Florida, Gary Holmes. For Purdue at forward, number 33, a 6'5 junior from East Chicago, Indiana, Drake Morris. For Minnesota at forward, number 33, a 6'7 freshman from Ocala, Florida, Zeb Howell. For Purdue at forward, number 45, a 6'7 senior from Chicago, Illinois, Arnett Hallman. For Minnesota at forward, number 44, a 6'11 senior from Hibbing, Minnesota, Kevin McHale. The head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers is Lee Rose. And the head coach of Minnesota, Jim Dutcher. And we'll be back with the start of today's game in just a moment.
Is luxury obsolete? Not at all. It's here in Lincoln Continental 1980. All the traditional look and feel of luxury driving, totally redesigned to be trim and efficient, with a dramatic 41% increase in EPA estimated miles per gallon over last year. And as standard equipment, an ingenious new automatic overdrive transmission. Lincoln Continental 1980, town car and town coupe.
Okay, guys, no kidding. What'd you think of my catch? Hey, first things first. 3 Michelob Lights? Michelob Light? Sure, me too. I'll have a Michelob Light.
The rich, full-bodied taste of Michelob Light. Compare it to any beer you like.
This Michelob Light's sensational. Now tell me, should I have my fish mounted?
No, put it on a bun.
Michelob Light. Compare the taste to any beer you like.
Yeah.
The officials for today's game, Phil Bova, Tom Rucker, and George Sullivan. And here we go. The Golden Gophers against the Purdue Boilermakers. Here are the Purdue starters. Morris and Holman up front. Carroll in the pivot, Walker and Edmonson on the back line. And for Minnesota, it's Howell and McHale. Holmes at the pivot with Hall and Tucker as the guards. And stepping in, Joe Barry Carroll, Kevin McHale, and we're all set to get this Big Ten battle underway. About 16,000 here in Williams Arena. Purdue controls. 45 is Holman, 20 is Brian Walker. He more or less quarterbacks the Boilermakers, taking over the role vacated by Jerry Seasting. Walker goes to Carroll, and traveling is called. First turnover.
Opening it man-to-man.
Minnesota will play it in. Fred, you were expecting, as we see Purdue pressuring a bit, you were expecting Minnesota to go zone, and probably still will, though. Huh?
They'll be changing up, I'm sure of that.
Tucker and Hall to the back line for the Gophers. This is Holmes and McHale. So Kevin McHale, who has averaged almost 22 points a game, puts the Gophers ahead. Brian Walker, Hall has him defensively. Holman down in the corner. Come to the outside to Drake Morris, and now into Joe Barry Carroll working against McHale. He gets it down. So the two big guys match baskets, and we're tied at 2 in the early going.
It's 2-2-1 zone press.
Minnesota front courts it. McHale comes up high. And a turnover. Traveling called against number 24, Mark Hall, the sophomore from Springfield, Mass.
Pass down the corner, dragged his pivot foot before he got started.
Then he decided to get his money's worth after the whistle. Holman down to the corner. Jump shot from 20, and Purdue goes ahead. Andre Holman has a bruised thigh, but is playing anyway, and it looks like that left knee, which is wrapped up, might be dragged a little bit, but he's all right. 4-2 Purdue. 32 is Trent Tucker out of Flint, Michigan, a sophomore. Pretty good outside shooter. Zeb Powell, a freshman from Ocala, Florida, at 6'7", is number 33 for the Gophers. Jim Dutcher did an outstanding recruiting job, again, for the Gophers this past year.
Purdue's in a 1-2-2 zone now, Merle.
And another traveling call, 2 turnovers for the Gophers. And Purdue will take over on the back line. The Boilermakers are wearing the new road uniforms this year. Brian Walker wheels it into the front court. Leaves it to Holman. That's Joe Barry Carroll. He travels. McHale played him well, and so Joe Barry lost the pivot foot.
The tough part about that, Joe Barry had to work so hard to come to the basketball. When he did change his mind, want to go back over his left shoulder, he traveled.
The Gophers down by 2. This is Mark Hall. McHale, fall away jumper, he got it. You talk about a guy, Fred, that is really smoothed out in the 4 years that we have watched him. He's something.
Well, I mentioned at the top of the show, Merle, he's kind of unorthodox. He plays so upright, but he has a beautiful touch on the ball.
There's the score, tied at 4. Joe Barry couldn't handle it. The Gophers take over. In the matchup, in the head-to-head series between Carroll and McHale last year, Carroll hit 21 of 37 shots for 50 points while grabbing 24 rebounds in the 2 games. McHale hit 12 out of 32 for 29 points. He had 11 rebounds. We almost got in the game. Gophers lose the ball right in front of us. Score tied at as Purdue takes over. Purdue won both meetings last year. And Purdue gives it up. And something happened to Brian Walker's finger, and we're going to have a timeout, it looks like. Officials timeout at least for a look at Brian Walker's pinky. No timeout charged to Purdue. This is an injury timeout by the officials on Brian Walker. He jammed a finger.
He's dislocated his finger.
And I believe, in fact, he's going to be out of here for a while anyway, while he has worked on. Stallings comes in to replace him. Or Kevin Stallings, beg your pardon. Kevin Stallings replacing. So back to play now with the score tied at 4, and we've played 3 minutes. Denny Miller, the trainer of Purdue, will probably have Walker back in there as a whistle stops play and a foul is called.
Offensive foul.
Joe Barry Carroll getting the first foul of the game.
There's the pass in. Turns over his right shoulder into Kevin McHale. The shot was blocked, but it was an offensive foul.
Here come the Gophers. Mark Hall, front court's it in a hurry. Holmes, Trent Tucker now. This is Hall looping it across court to the old alley-oop. And a beautiful play with Howell scoring.
But that basket came because of what the pressure that Kevin McHale placed on the Purdue defense. They had to contain him, leaving the backside open.
Keith Edmonson leaves it off to Holman, and Holman ties the score in a hurry, and Arnett has 4 for the game. He's averaging 8 points a game this year for Purdue. Tied at 6. 16:21 to go in the first half. Howell, Tucker. Purdue zoning. Hall. And Trent Tucker Walker gets a pair. It is 8-6. Minnesota. Stallings works with Joe Barry. Carroll drops it over McHale. Rejected. Look at McHale work on Joe Barry. Carroll cleared out by McHale. Long feed down court. Couldn't be saved by McHale.
Merle, I've never seen Kevin McHale play any better defensively than he's played right there. Watch this block shot. And he stays right with it.
And the crowd love it at all as a timeout is called with 15:38 to go in the first half. Minnesota's leading by a score of 8-6, and we'll be right back.
For the Lions.
Coke and a smile makes me feel good. Something fresh makes me feel nice. That's the way it should be. And I'd like to see the whole world smiling with me. Coca-Cola as life. Have a coconut smile.
That's Coach Johnson. He's from the college. Looks like he's worried about his problem dandruff. I wish he'd ask me.
Mr. Owens, I need a shampoo.
Ever tried Tegrin?
Can it really work on my itching and flaking?
Well, in a national survey, 3 out of 4 dermatologists judged Tegrin's medication effective in fighting even problem dandruff.
I'll give it a tryout.
Hey, how's that dandruff problem?
Tegrin's a winner, Mr. Owens.
Prove it to yourself. Tegrin works.
Are you paying through the nose for your deodorant? Why waste money? Get on the stick. Speed Stick Solid Deodorant from Menon. Look, you'd use up 2 3-ounce sprays and start a third before you'd use up 1 2.5-ounce Speed Stick. Not only that, Speed Stick is effective. 60% more effective against odor than the leading deodorant spray. So why pay through the nose for an aerosol?
Why waste money?
Try Speed Stick Solid Deodorant from Menon.
Merle Harmon and Fred Taylor with you once again at Williams Arena on the campus of the University of Minnesota. The Gophers lead by 2 in the early going of the ball game. We have not played quite 5 minutes as yet. And it's Purdue's ball to inbound. Brian Walker, who went out of the game with a dislocated finger, is now coming back on the floor. Billy Miller working on him down in the dressing room, and now they're back.
Minnesota's in the zone now, Merle.
Right. Minnesota going to the zone, switching back and forth. Both teams have done that. Joe Barry Carroll couldn't quite handle it, but Arnett Holman was there, and now the Boilermakers will work against the Minnesota zone. Holman from the outside, and that's how you beat a zone. Holman is 3 out of 3. 6 points, tied at 8. And a foul is logged against McHale. That's the first against Minnesota. Purdue will inbound the ball, tied at 8.
Merle, the ball's gone airborne 10 times thus far, and 8 of them have resulted in baskets.
Well, the Gophers have really pumped in a lot of points this year. They've been averaging 78 points a ball game. They've also given up the most. Ball could not be handled by Kieth Edmonson, and so Minnesota will take over. McHale, Stallings up there defensively, and the traffic got heavy, and look who's got the ball. Purdue, and an illegal dribble by number 11, Kieth Edmonson. So the turnover gives the ball right back to Minnesota in the front court for the Gophers.
That's the second time this has happened today. A turnover gives the ball up, and then the other team does the favor in return.
Darryl Mitchell, number 30, a sophomore out of West Palm Beach, Florida, is into the ball game for Minnesota for McHale on the back line. This is Mitchell. Gophers lose the ball. All of a sudden, the turnovers are keeping the game going near midcourt.
7 for Minnesota and 6 for Purdue.
So the Boilermakers will see if they can put their act together. Tied at 8 with Minnesota. 14:27 to go in the first half. Stallings goes to the corner to Holman. Now they bring it back to the top and try the left side against the zone of Minnesota. And shot popped away and good by Stallings from the outside. Kevin Stallings scoring for the Boilermakers.
Well, he doesn't shoot much, but he's about 65%. He really shoots well.
Now the Gophers are down by 2.
There's a 1-2-2 zone by Purdue.
Both teams are showing different defensive here as Joe Barry steps in front of Trent Tucker and takes that ball away. This is Stallings. Vince in there for Brian Walker.
And Merle, from our vantage point, Joe Barry could see that pass coming, and he knew it. He knew he was going to get it.
Stallings. Deflection. Jump ball.
All right. Merle, that's what we talked about at the beginning of the show. There's a guy 7 feet 2 inches tall, and he's on the floor after the ball. That's what it takes.
Lee Rose, the head coach of Purdue, guided his team to 27 victories in his first year with the Boilermakers last year. Did a tremendous job. Now Bruer is coming in for the Gophers. Randy, well, I guess he's not coming in. Not till we have the jump ball anyway. Randy Bruer, a local favorite from Lake City, Minnesota. 7'2" freshman. There he is. When he sits down, he's still up in the air, isn't he? Purdue controlling the tip. Now Minnesota shows him a different look on defense again as the shot is missed by Holman. Cleared up for the Gophers. Gophers down by 2 with 13 minutes to go in the first half. Jump shot on the way by Holmes. And Purdue gets the rebound. Barry Carroll over to Stallings. Intercepted now by number 30, Darryl Mitchell. 2-on-1. Mitchell to McHale, and he is fouled by Stallings. Stallings really didn't have much choice there.
Oh, that was a good foul. If he waits another half count, he's going to make a 3-point opportunity out of it.
Now Bruer is coming into the game. Stallings gets the foul, and that will be number 2 against Purdue.
2 shots, man. 2.
Brian Walker, number 20, is back in the ball game, and the little pinky is taped to the next finger. Kevin McHale on the free throw line. That's 5 points for Kevin. He's averaged almost 22 points a game. On the free throw line, 88%. Almost 10 rebounds a game. You talk about somebody that does everything. McHale does. Game tied at 10. And Brian Walker back in there, the junior from Lebanon, Indiana. He had 80.
Minnesota's back in their 2-1-2 zone now.
Walker had about 88 steals last year. The shot is rejected. Pumped up there by Edmonson, taken away by the Gophers. And a foul is called.
Merle, that was an excellent play again by Kevin McHale. He blocked the shot and retained possession. The shot by number 11 is blocked right there, and Kevin McHale stays after it. He didn't swat it. He just tipped it and then went back after it and was fouled by Kieth Edmonson.
So Edmonson has his first foul. That's 3 now against Purdue, and Minnesota travels to the ball again. Trent Tucker trying to beat Purdue down court. Ran with the ball.
That's one of the things that can happen against pressure. The press is designed one thing to make the team commit its intentions at a little faster pace than it would like, and he traveled.
Mike Scarce, 23, is coming in for Purdue. Arnett Holman is getting a rest. Scarce, a sophomore from Lexington, Kentucky. He is 6'7". Brian Walker, Edmonson. Zone by Minnesota, leaves Edmonson from the outside, missing. And McHale there for the rebound. Gophers tied at 10 with Purdue, moving the ball quickly. Mitchell, and he works to Holmes. Holmes tipped it in. Check that.
Gary Holmes stayed after that ball really well.
Gary Holmes with a 6.4 scoring average puts Minnesota back into the lead. Again, a zone by Minnesota. Walker, Mike Scarce from the outside.